This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
And there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is
World.
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest.
Hey, hotties, and welcome to The Reheat, a podcast that re-examines the hottest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks, how would we react to the same events if they transpired today? I'm your co-host, Sadaf Hassan.
I'm your other co-host, Sarah Sahagian. And this week, it's time for another Hot Off the Press. That's when we do a mini-sode that discusses the salacious headlines that are currently obsessing us. So, what a time it's been in the world of celebrity culture. People are still super stoked about T-Swift's engagement. That story, won't end. My own daughter thinks Travis Kelce should definitely take her name because, in the words of Beatrix, Swift is a better name.
She's right.
It is a better name than Kelsey. Yeah, exactly. Our girl, Sophia Franklin, former co-host of Call Her Daddy, also got engaged. So apparently it's engagement season. Michelle Dockery is pregnant. Michelle Dockery, if you don't know, had a really tragic life. Her fiance, when she was 34, he very sadly passed away from very aggressive cancer. She is now married to Phoebe Waller-Bridge's brother, so that's cool. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be an aunt. So Michelle Dockery debuted her bump recently at a premiere, and I am just so happy. She means a lot to me for whatever reason. I spent a lot of time worrying about whether she's happy.
Well, I'm a Downton fan, so I'm with you. I got so strangely excited when I saw the bump. It was like my sister had gotten pregnant. I was like, why do I care so much? But we grew up with her, basically.
I know.
She's been in our lives.
So now we're all going to be aunts.
I know. That is exactly how I feel. I'm thrilled.
I know. I'm so happy. Anyway, it's also Toronto International Film Festival season that has begun. So everybody watch that space. There are definitely going to be a lot of headlines about that festival and the films that are debuting there. So Film Nerd Christmas, it's arrived.
A bit of a scoop, not really a scoop, a baby scoop. So I went to a premiere last night, and this is for the Euphoria fans.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to see Mylan Kicks, which stars Barbie Ferreira. And Maude Apatow and Sydney Sweeney were in the audience there for her, and they were sitting together with their whole team. And they didn't make it to the after party, but they were definitely there to support. So there you go. The three of them still friends.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I thought
that
so.
makes me happy. I don't really like Sydney Sweeney, but I'm glad she's a good friend, I guess.
Sydney Sweeney, I don't know how things are about to go for her because she's got a big premiere at TIFF, and
I know
her reputation is kind of in the shithole right now. It's really fascinating, actually, because she was on the World like 2 seconds ago, and now she's at the very bottom. So let's see if this premiere can kind of bring it back up. There's a lot riding on it.
I think she might be poised to become kind of Gen Z Blake Lively. But anyway, we'll see. So our first topic of discussion for HOTP this week is my new object of fascination, The Summer I Turned Pretty. The Prime show is the reigning teen drama of our time. Okay, that's indisputable. Based on a YA series by author Jenny Han, the show pulls in as many as 25 million viewers on occasion, right? That's huge.
Damn.
That is much bigger than a lot of the other iconic teen shows of the past 20 years. The largest demographic who watches the show isn't actually adolescents. In fact, it's millennial women like us. It kind of makes sense because the books take place in the early times, the books on which it's adapted. So the vibe is a little bit different. There isn't as much about like, so-and-so texted me, here's what someone posted on social media. It actually does feel old-fashioned in some ways, even though it is set in the contemporary moment. For those who aren't familiar with TSITP and the people at Chronicles, the show documents a love triangle between Belly. Her actual name is Isabel, but for some reason at 16, she still goes by Belly. And this isn't even her most childish nickname. At one point, people call her Belly Button. So,
oh, God. I can't stand it. Ugh.
No, it's hard to believe she's played by Lola Tung, who is very beautiful. I mean, I'm not sure how amazing an actress she is, but she is very beautiful. She is the titular pretty girl, and Jeremiah and Conrad are the two brothers she grew up alongside while summering in the fictional New England town of Cousins, which is basically just Martha's Vineyard with a different name. I don't know why they don't call it Martha's Vineyard. I don't understand. But anyway, they pretend it's not Martha's Vineyard. Even though they've grown up as sort of basically like cousins, for some reason, these are the only two boys in the world she's attracted to, even though I think they'd be two boys she wouldn't be attracted to, but whatever. Willful suspension of disbelief. Fans are so rabid, especially those who are Team Conrad, that Amazon recently had to release a video reminding fans the show is not real, but the actors who play them are, and they do not appreciate online harassment just because they play the brother you don't want Belly to end up with.
Whoa.
So things have gotten intense. Amazon also asked fans to start acting normal online in August, but I'm not sure it worked. I don't think it did at all. Author Jenny Han, in addition, released a statement, and she wrote, I know fans of the show are passionate and no one has bad intent, but even in jest, posting images of a woman being slapped or choked is not funny. So yeah, people have gotten creative and also very dark when they post online about this show. So it is getting intense. And even though I love Jenny Han for thinking that nobody has bad intent, I disagree. I think some of them do.
Sarah, why are people posting images of a woman being slapped or choked?
Well, I think in some cases they think Belly is making the wrong choice. And I think that
I
it's
see.
that,
Okay,
right?
got
Like
it.
they think she's stupid.
Got it.
And then I think like people also don't like the guy who plays Conrad. They don't like his real life girlfriend, right? Because he has a
Gotcha.
girlfriend. The fandom is getting overall nuts. Like nuts. So Sadaf, I know you don't watch the show. What are your thoughts as an outsider to this addictive yet admittedly not awesome series? Why does it feel like the internet discourse on this show is more aggressive than it has been for any other beloved teen series of the past 20 years?
Oh, it's so interesting. I love this question. Okay, well, so I did watch the first season just because I wanted to be in on this. I have friends who love it so much, and I felt a lot of FOMO, even though it just felt a little too YA to me. But I did watch the whole first season. I just didn't find the leads very compelling. Like, I think Lola Tung is so sweet, but I found the two boys to be quite charmless. And something was just not holding me in. I think it just didn't do it for me. That being said, I think Jenny Han is great. I love that we have this Asian leading woman and she gets to be in like the biggest show. It's really wonderful. And I love how much people are into this. It makes my heart happy. So here's the thing. This does take me back to the OOs. It takes me back to Gilmore Girls. That's what I think of. Because God, what greater love triangle have I experienced in my life? Well, one could even say quadrangle, but Rory Gilmore with Jess, with Dean, with Logan, like that was my era. And my God, that was my life. Now, Sarah, imagine if we had social media back then and how rabid people would have been and how many times they would have posted photos of poor Rory Gilmore being slapped or choked.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so here is my theory. I think that everybody has very consistent taste when it comes to love triangles. And I think that I'm Team Jeremiah. And if you're Team Jeremiah and you want her to end up with the brother that no one else seems to want her to end up with, because he's like fun and he really seems to vibe with her. They flirt, they have a good time together. He likes to go to parties. He isn't brooding in the corner. He does hook up with other people, but she's the one he likes the best. He's bisexual. He's like fun. He's like this fun party guy who's like, I don't know, he jokes. I like him. Okay. If you like him, You wanted right end up with Logan, which I did. Let's face it.
God, of course you did. Prep school girl. Makes so much sense.
Logan is more fun. Jess is not fun, okay? I actually might have myself chosen Jess, but as an audience member and you're removed, you're more objective. I'm like, he's the wrong choice. He's too brooding. And I think Conrad is the same thing. Conrad, people think he's deep because he doesn't say much. Okay? No, he just doesn't have much to say. That doesn't mean he's deep, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I love this. Remind me, Jeremiah is the one with the curls. Yes?
Yes, I like him.
Okay. Yeah, so in watching season 1, I thought he was so delicious, and I could not even comprehend the appeal of Conrad, like not even a fraction. I find him to frankly be, and I'm so sorry to say this to all you fans, I know we have some of you listening, I don't get it. I don't even find him very cute. He looks like he's 45 years old, speaking to a girl who is 12. I cannot bear it. That boy with the curls is wonderfully delicious. Like, how could you ever say no to him? That being said, I don't know all the context, so don't come at me. If he is seeing other people while he's supposed to be with Belly, that's not great. But here's what I will say, Sarah, to your earlier point. I also loved Logan. I had a hard time choosing between Jess and Logan. I loved them both so much. So you and I are in the same camp for once. But I love your point. We'll just love being able to have two teams and decide who gets in one spot, who gets in the other spot. What does that mean about you? It's just so fun. And I also think, because I know a lot of millennial women who watch this show, I think it's kind of like getting to relive that part of your life. And it's so wistful and nostalgic. And God, what time have we ever needed that more than right now, right?
I think you're right. And I think that's why people are getting more rabid, because the biggest demographic, as you just reminded us, is millennial women. And we have been trained. We were brought up on love triangles. They are mother's milk for us, right?
Yes.
I mean, we survived Rory versus Jess, right? We survived Blair Waldorf, Dan Humphrey, and Chuck Bass. We survived all these things. We started out with Veronica versus Logan and Duncan. I mean, no one ever thought Duncan would win. That was like the saddest.
Yeah.
But I mean, they tried to throw Piz in there and also didn't work. Veronica and Logan were always the one true pairing. But we were brought up on love triangles. Even Girls has a love triangle by the end, right? Like the friends are in a love triangle with each other. Even
I
Girls.
like that, Sarah. I love that. You know, another iconic love triangle we grew up on in Buffy. Lest we forget Spike and Angel.
Lest we forget Buffy. So I feel like we put in our 10,000 hours with love triangles. And now we've gone a bit crazy. We're beyond genius level. Now we're just rabid. I mean, obviously a lot of this is coming from the teen girls too, but I wonder how many of these teen girls are watching with their moms who are kind of like egging them on. We're like, no, obviously Conrad. Here's the thing. You would be miserable if you married Conrad. You don't want to marry a man who just like never talks to you about his feelings and only wants you. I'm going to point this out. He only wants Belly when she becomes a status object, right? Once the other guys want her. When his brother makes it clear, I've always had a crush on you and now I'm making my move, right? And other boys around town are into her. Now she's a status object. It's very much like when Dan in season 4 was like, oh, wait, Serena's not the status object. It's Blair. Now I want her, right? I don't like Conrad. He is bad.
He sounds terrible. From everything I've heard, I don't understand the appeal in any way. I also don't like the idea of him like, and I don't know if this is accurate, but if he's like reining her in and he's like the one she's supposed to be calm and cool with, it's like, let her have fun. She's also so young. Why is this girl getting married? I feel like I've heard so much about this show and I'm so perplexed. Like that's also very, I would say, nice of Jenny Han, who I know is such a millennial woman as well. I just don't totally get it. I wonder if, and again, I'm not in the world, but I wonder if this show ends with Belly choosing herself. A la Felicity, another phenomenal love triangle that I was on my knees for. And spoiler alert, she chose herself in the end, which drove me to madness. So we'll see.
I think she will choose herself probably, although I do think they'll have a flash forward like 5 or 10 years later where she ends up with Conrad. I think they'll try to do both. They'll try to have their cake and eat it too, is what I believe they'll do. But yes, the trope of kids getting married on teen shows has to die. To her credit, Mindy Kaling created Never Have I Ever, one of the only teen shows where no one gets married. Why do we have these shows where everybody gets married, sometimes multiple times on a teen show? It's ridiculous. Can we please stop normalizing this? Because actually in America, where all these shows are set, child marriage is still legal in many states. So it's a real actual problem. And showing it on TV is not something that America needs. We need to stop normalizing this in popular culture.
I do think there's like a very purist thing to it. And I think also this idea that if it's really going to be a perfect fairy tale, they have to end up permanently together, which is kind of chilling if you think about it. By the way, I do want to note the incest of it all. May I? Because I love to note that with everything. This girl grew up with these two like they were her brothers.
Yeah.
Side note. And then on another note, she's jumping between them.
It's gross. No, it's gross.
As you mercifully noted earlier, Sarah, are there not other men in this town or in her regular town? Because they just summer there, right? Like, come on, girl, you're gorgeous. Get out there.
Here's the thing, though. The other thing I don't like about the show, and then we'll move on, is that this is not the case in Jenny Han's books. And I love Jenny Han as an author. But in this adaptation, they've given this girl no personality beyond being suddenly pretty.
Really?
She has no characteristics. She's just boy obsessed. And no one has ever needed an I choose me more than this girl because it's like, yeah, dude, do you have any preferences? It's like Runaway Bride. Do you even know how you like your eggs? You're just obsessed with these two boys. I think that is not in the spirit of Han's books. And that really bothers me that there is this girl who is not at all developed. Like, we don't really know much about her passions or her dreams. They really take the back seat. So, and I know that that's true of a lot of teen shows of the past, but why are we bringing that back? Why are we bringing back the unambitious girl who's just obsessed with two boys? Why are we bringing it back?
That's so interesting. I didn't realize that with the show. And you know what makes me sad about it is that Jenny Han also wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before, which is such a wonderful and truly fantastic series, especially the first movie/book. And if you like Sunrise from Pretty, get into that. That's a lead character who is so beautifully fleshed out and just amazing. And yeah, it's interesting to me that the same woman produced both. And that's all I'll say.
I haven't read The Summer I Turned Pretty, the books. I imagine Belly is more of a real three-dimensional character in the books.
But Jenny's a producer on the show. Like, she's very involved.
Well, that's true. That's true. And so I don't know how much control she has, right? Yes, you're right. And so, potentially she's part of this flattening of the character, or maybe the character never was really three-dimensional. I don't know. But Jenny Han has produced a lot of work I really respect, too. So I don't want to go after her too hard.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
All right, now it is time to move on to a very, very sad topic. Die Hard star Bruce Willis's frontal temporal dementia has continued to advance, and wife Emma Helling Willis has made the very difficult decision to put him into a separate home with a full-time care staff, so he's no longer living with his wife and his daughters. It's a single-story house that is set up to meet the actor's current needs. While Emma Hemming Willis has said it was one of the, quote, hardest decisions, which makes sense, insists that this is what Bruce would want for their young daughters. In a recent ABC special about her husband and their family, she said he would want them to be in a home that was more tailored to their needs, not his needs. For Bruce, noise can be very triggering. So I guess having, young daughters in your house might upset you, but also you can't tell your kids, never make noise, right? I mean, that I do get where she's coming from.
Yeah.
His wife also noticed that parents weren't necessarily comfortable with leaving their kids at the Willis home when Bruce was there. And so, that is very important for young kids to be able to have friends over. This situation just sounds really tough all around, just a pretty much impossible position. But the arrangement now does seem to be working. And they're lucky they can afford to do this. Most people can't afford to have a separate house for someone in the family. But Hemming Willis has said that things are calmer now. Of course, Many on social media objected to this arrangement, which begs the question, why do we all have so many opinions about celebrity care teams, especially when it comes to dementia? Remember earlier this year, Gene Hackman died when his wife got sick while trying to care for him in their home alone without a professional care team. The internet had opinions about that too. A lot of people said they should have had live-in care, they should have had staff, and now the opposite is happening and people are still mad. So it literally feels like when it comes to celebrities trying to care for people who have these types of health problems, you just can't win. Sadaf, why do people suck so much? Why does everyone have so many opinions about these things?
I know. People do suck. People are such assholes. I think when it comes to care, even when it comes to like childcare, right? And you probably know this better than I do. People love to judge. People love to throw opinions out there when they have not even dealt with this kind of thing on their own. How can you possibly know? I also think people get very possessive of the celebrities that they love. And listen, I am a very big Bruce Willis fan, so I actually have a hard time talking about this. It tears me up pretty badly. I love him so much, and this has been so devastating, I imagine, to his whole family. I don't even know how Emma has been coping because being his spouse, so much falls on your shoulders, and you, in a way, lose the person that you fell in love with. You know, that is not the same person mentally who you're talking to every day and interacting with, right? That's not the same relationship. He's essentially gone in that way. And the same goes for him as a father to his daughters. Whatever decision she had to make, she knows what was best. How the hell can the rest of us know? We don't live with this man. Does it sound really heartbreaking? Yeah, but it also sounds like it's probably better for him. And here's the thing, when someone is sick, it impacts the whole family, right? Like they are not bystanders. They also have to do what's best for them. And she's got pretty young children with him. The children he had with Demi Moore are grown up. They all live out on their own. It's not like it's a bunch of people who are forcing this decision onto him when he can't decide.
Yeah, and I think that Bruce Willis seems to be a fairly rational human being. And when you have a second family late in life, I think you probably had discussions like this with your wife, right? What would happen if I got Alzheimer's or if I got dementia, right? And probably she does actually know what he would want. Probably he has said, we're having kids older, things might happen to me. He probably did at some point say, always put them first, because she says she knows that this is what he would want. And people talk about these things, right? People who are married have lots of conversations. So it could be that he explicitly told her, or she just knows him really well because they've been married for a long time by this point.
Yeah.
And I do think he was a really loving and committed father. I think he still is. It's one of those things where developmentally, it is hard for kids to be away from their dad. It's also hard for them to be told, you can't make noise, you can't have friends over, right? I mean, these are all difficult decisions. And it's hard for kids to live in a house with a huge care team of strangers coming in and out, right? That's really upsetting. It's really triggering. It can give kids anxiety issues. So I am assuming that this was a very carefully considered and informed decision. And listen, I think some of it comes down to the fact that it's a very privileged position. A lot of us who've been in these situations probably wish we could have done something like this and couldn't. And so then we kind of project our own feelings of envy and kind of make them into anger and just saying, well, you shouldn't do that, right? And yeah, they are incredibly privileged. Like most people cannot afford to do this. Most people can't even afford to have someone come into the house once a week to help, right? Let alone have a separate home with the care team. I do think everyone should have adequate help for situations like this, so I don't actually begrudge them this. I just think the American healthcare system and most care systems don't provide adequate help for families who are in this very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And hey, guys, I mean, God knows he has such a big, beautiful family. They're definitely visiting him. He's not there on his own all the time. He's going to be okay. If any celebrity has ever shown us how truly connected and beautiful and genuine their family is, it's his family. So that's what I like to keep with me. And my last note on that is, if you want to watch a Bruce Willis deep cut, go and watch Moonlighting. If you want to just enjoy him, just go back and watch Moonlighting. That's all I'll say.
Oh my God, best sexual tension ever on TV.
Yes, my God. God, speaking of love triangles, that was the whole other thing we dealt with, God, back then. Jesus.
Will they, won't they? Another big trope that we grew up with. I mean, Ross and Rachel.
Brutal.
And she should have been with Joe.
Next topics. We have no time for that. Actually, we should do a Friends episode.
We should, and everyone will come for me. Just like people are coming for me because I like Jeremiah.
Can't say it out loud. I've noticed that.
No, you can't say that, but it's true. Okay. Now, most of you will know Rachel Amandi as one of the most respected voices in the world of fashion. Her wildly successful podcast is called The Cutting Room Floor, and it regularly features Rachel talking candidly with fashion bigwigs. But recently, the show received a lot of backlash in the process of expanding its team. Sadaf, can you fill listeners in on what exactly happened?
I would love to. I've been deep into this. Okay, so back in August, Rachel posted a TikTok announcing a full-time in-person job based in New York with a salary of $55,000, no benefits. The position was described as a mix of bookings administrator, studio coordinator, and personal assistant, which is a lot of jobs for one person, and especially for 55K. So when she posted this, her post was very casual, it was very chill. She was like, "This is a great job. I'd love to hire someone who really needs this." But it drew so much criticism on social media for underpaying and overworking in a city where that salary is considered a very low income. I mean, really, it's considered that anywhere. It's just in New York, it's also considered below city standards. So then the questions came up of whether it's even really legal. That said, though, that salary is very standard in the New York fashion world. In fact, some might even consider it a good salary for the New York fashion world. That being said, I do think it was tone deaf. The job isn't accessible to candidates without financial support. You've got to be someone who basically either lives at home, has family support, or is working like 10 other jobs, which isn't great. It doesn't read well, essentially. Rachel initially defended her decision via TikTok, framing it as a necessary hustle for early career professionals, but that only made people angrier. After more than 800 applications came in, she said that, yeah, okay, the process had been mishandled. She paused the hiring process and pledged to reconsider the role with greater care in the future. But here's the thing. Okay, I love Rachel. I think she's such a genius in the industry. The Cutting Room Floor is a fantastic podcast. That doesn't exempt her from living in a bubble, though, right? Like, she's clearly a bit out of touch. At the same time, though, I think it's very strange and kind of disgusting to see the way everyone's made her the face of poor hiring structures in the fashion industry. It's been such a pile on. Sir, what have you made of it?
Okay, so I think maybe this is some of my millennial trauma because when I saw that that salary, I was like, oh, this is fine. Millennials often had to work so many unpaid internships, which, like, thankfully in Canada, you can't do that anymore. It's illegal.
Yeah.
But we all did so much where we were not paid or barely paid, right? And I mean, some people, as you mentioned, had the privilege of being able to live with parents or maybe get parental support. But even just living with your parents is a privilege and allows you to take these jobs. And if you couldn't do that, then you had to work multiple jobs. And as somebody who's like, I spent my 20s, I was always working multiple jobs. And I do think that helps me build a work ethic. But in considering this case, it made me really consider my whole approach to work. And I thought, I think it made me a workaholic, right?
Yeah.
And so I do think we should end that culture. I do think one job should be enough for your survival and to thrive even. Having said that, I do think Rachel probably internalized that work ethic we all did. And that's maybe why she didn't see this at first. And I don't think she needs to be the face of this. There are lots of large corporations with huge HR teams and carefully considered policies that still do stuff like this. So I don't like the way she's the face of it. And it does seem like she's willing to grow and learn and change. But we've all internalized a lot of work BS. I'm not going to say work trauma because maybe that's too intense a word. And I know I did say trauma earlier. Maybe that's not what it is. But we've internalized a lot of BS work habits where we just sort of, I honestly felt for the first 10 years of my career that I should settle for scraps. And I did a lot of things where I was putting in maybe like 30 hours of work for $100. And I'm sure you did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that is deeply wrong. It wasn't
so
right
bad.
then. It's wrong now. So just because we went through it doesn't mean the current generation also needs to suffer that way. And I think that's something I need to remind myself as a millennial. I shouldn't be like, back in my day, I should be like, yeah, that was wrong. We should never have been in that position.
I'm so glad. You know what? You just gave me the biggest epiphany that I'm going to sit with this weekend. That maybe I'm such a workaholic now because I did so much nonsense back then, just trying to make my way, in this case, in our field in media, which in some ways does function very similarly to fashion. It's very cutthroat. I did about 9 or 10 internships and quite a few of them were unpaid. And I felt like I had to do it because, especially as a person of color, trying to get your way up in the media industry is so difficult. And I know it's even harder in the fashion world.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is a lot of the people who were saying, like us sickos, that they would have totally jumped at that chance, even if it's $55K, a lot of them were women of color. And I thought, you know what? That checks out because it's also that idea that, you got to hustle harder for a little bit less. This is the hustle culture that we've kind of started to glorify in our millennial years. And I think it's still a little bit alive, and Rachel, I think, is definitely in it too. I think she's also like she's in our generation. And I think another alarming part of it too, and maybe I'm wrong, this is a guess, but some of it is this idea that you have to pay your dues, which I really don't like. And it's a bit elitist. You know what? I could go on about that forever and ever. I will say I still love you, Rachel, and I still strongly recommend the cutting room floor. Just don't apply for lower paying jobs, guys. We can do better. We can do better. And on that note, that is this week's episode. Thank you to all of our wonderful listeners. We hope you'll come back because we plan to cover a ton more scandals. And the only way to do that is if we gossip about it together. You can listen to The Reheat for free on the Seeker app. You can also find the show on the Frequency Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me at _Steph Sarah, where can our listeners find you?
Listeners can find me on Twitter at Sarah Sahagian. And if you liked this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe so other listeners can find us too. And if you would like us to keep growing, we would really love for you to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thereheat. That's another great way to support us. It's really meaningful. And we've definitely got some goods in store for you, so it's going to be worth your while. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.